Hi guys, welcome to Crypto Insight. In these videos, I give you a rundown of what's happening in large cap crypto, and in particular, the options and volatility space. I started trading crypto options in 2020 after spending 20 years trading equity derivatives professionally. It's been a lot of fun trading the massive volatility in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I can tell you as a vol trader, the markets with the most opportunity to make money are those that know how to move. I will give you the insight of my trading and experience and how I'm reading the options market flows and positioning my own book to trade the opportunities in the space. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you like these videos, and hit the notification bell to see these weekly videos as they are released. Thanks a lot and enjoy the video. Okay, so crypto this week, what's been going on? BTC had its little pullback. So where were we last week? We were kind of pulling back towards that kind of 37, 38 area and bounced nicely off that and took out our resistance at 42.5 and went straight to the next level, right? We were around 46, 47,000. Okay, so very bullish price action, kind of doing what you would like to see. If you think the longer term consolidation is over and it's time for the next impulse higher for the bull market to resume, you are getting the price action that's kind of confirming that, right? You got an impulsive bounce, you got a mini little correction, and now you're getting a pretty impulsive rally through the resistance levels. Okay, so it's all looking pretty good for the Bitcoin bulls out there, basically. Next, and it's respecting levels, right? Like if you literally just do a Fibonacci grid from the highs to that correction low, that consolidation low, I mean, 42, 43 was the first level where we found some resistance, which was your first fib level. We've corrected off it, we've bounced, we've gone through, we've gone straight to the 50%, and now we're kind of pausing here, right? Now, if we do pull back, you should expect some support of 43, which is that first level. And if we keep rallying, you should expect some resistance at 51, which is the next fib level. And Bitcoin's pretty good at respecting the fibs and the technicals, to be honest, right? So whilst it's working, that's kind of your roadmap really for the levels that matter. We are on the warning side. I would say, we're testing that 50% level and we're seeing a bearish divergence on the momentum indicator. So don't be surprised to see a pullback back to 42, 43, because you're seeing confirmation that that's likely from the momentum indicator, and that kind of works across multiple timeframes. So I'm seeing that on the 4-hour, I'm seeing that on the daily. I've seen that on the 2-hour as well. So the multiple timeframes are showing me bearish divergences to suggest that we need a little bit of a pause. Now, don't get me wrong, that pause could last 2 days and then we go flying again, basically, right? So just be aware that, in Bitcoin, a few days is a long time. Yeah. Now, we had some pretty positive sort of news flow on the US side. There was talk about quite a lot of regulation coming in, a burden, like tax burdens for anyone who's got anything to do with crypto. And it seems like Congress have kind of come to an agreement that they don't want to be so draconian about it. And yes, major centralized exchanges will have those burdens put on them. But, miners and software developers and things like that, people who are in the space but are not such major, massive entities in it, are not going to have so much regulation put on them, right? So that's taken pretty positively by the market, it seems. And also some of the fact that you're having some people in Congress lobbying for crypto, suggests that there is more, there's adoption on a wider scale, right? You've got some if you want to call them grown-ups or whatever, but you've got some grown-ups who are listening and monitoring those markets and see those markets as beneficial and don't want to over-regulate them, right? Some form of regulation is a good thing because it will bring more adoption and it will just become, people will feel more safe about going into the space, right? So some regulation without over-regulation has got to be taken quite bullishly, I think, right? So that's kind of what the market seems to be trading on, yeah? On the on-chain stuff, looking through that stuff this week, for me, the main takeaways were, if you look at like old coins, new coins, what are they up to? What have they been doing? I would say this chart kind of shows you old coins, their behavior relatively quiet, right? So as you had the spike in price, the spike in activity seems to be in the younger coins. So, people buying the dip, flipping out, making some money. But the older coins that are more the hodlers, their activity doesn't seem to be spiking in any big meaningful way, which makes you comfortable that you're not going to get this massive wave of selling coming from the hodlers, basically, right? So that's relatively bullish still. The dominance of large transactions is another chart, which I'll put in the report. So 1 million to 10 million dollar size transactions in Bitcoin, they're taking up a healthy chunk of the flows of the transaction volume. So that just suggests that the people who are playing are bigger players. So if you see that, you saw a bit of a spike in that as we went down to 29. So some big clips being bought. And now as we're rallying, we're also seeing big clips being traded, probably being bought because the market's rallying. And that's from the institutional type players, whether it's high net worth, family office types, or even bigger like corporate type entities, right? But you're seeing the dominance of larger transactions going up is a sign of more institutional adoption, which in theory supports the narrative and makes you feel better about the space, basically, right? So that's what I'm seeing on the on-chain stuff. Also, Ethereum's upgrade, which we'd been obviously flagging, that went through without a hiccup, which is good news. If you look, obviously everyone was talking about the burning of the fees. What's that going to do to the supply and the issuance of Ethereum? So so looking at the data on that seems to have basically, the burn is about 35% of issuance. So that's the kind of reduction that you're seeing in net issuance on Ethereum, right? Which in theory is probably a good thing for price, right? And if we look at price of Ethereum, big level on Ethereum had been 24. Next level was around 28, 29. We've taken out all those levels. We've gone pretty parabolic, to be fair, in Ethereum. And now we're just hovering a little under 3,200, okay? So Ethereum, very bullish. Arguably, the corrections have been even less pronounced than what we've seen in Bitcoin. Obviously, looking at the spread chart, that did look to have a bit of a breakout on the 4th and 5th, which was the date for the upgrade. So we definitely got the price action confirming people were excited about the upgrade. We went as high as 0.073, kind of corrected, chopping around, not massively higher, let's say, than we were before that breakout. But it looks bullish, right? I mean, I've got a breakout target of maybe 0.08 on this, which is now that we've broken that downtrend. You'd probably use that downtrend as support around 0.065. And, if we can get that sort of move, what does that translate through? Well, if we can get to 0.08 in the spread, and let's say that's happening in a crypto bullish scenario where Bitcoin goes to its next resistance around 50,000, well, that would then equate to an Ethereum level of around 4,000. Okay, so those are the kind of targets I'm seeing over the next month or so. If we go 51 on Bitcoin, then my upside target is probably around 4,000 as a bullish case, as an optimistic case for Ethereum is probably around 4,000. Right? If that happened, I'd probably be pretty happy taking profit on a load of my call options that I've got on Ethereum, basically, right? So I'm not touching them at the minute. If we break back down and go below this breakout zone, then maybe I will just prudently take some profit on my position where I went long Ethereum calls and short Bitcoin calls. They are in the money right now. but I'm trying to hold on and run this winner for as long as I can, basically, right? That's the game plan there. Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on. And then finally, what's going on in the vol market, right? So let's bring up the usual kind of metrics. So obviously, if you have a look at what's going on in volatility space, realized vol hasn't really done too much. I would argue, you know, realized vols kind of hung in around the 60, 70 area. But if you see what implied has done over the last week, it's got 1 month implied has gone from 80 up to like 95. So decent move up in implieds, right? Which is basically signaling demand for options, probably call buying going on, bringing in that demand for options, and people thinking, okay, the moves to the upside are coming, the big moves where we can gap 3,000 to 5,000 pretty quickly, and that's triggering this spike in implied volatility, basically, right? So, and you know, you can see that on the term structure chart. So I've got a week ago in the brown where everything was trading flat at around 80 vol. We've got yesterday where the whole thing was pretty much flat at 95, which is the red curve. And then over the last day, you've seen a bit of a collapse in the super short dated vol as the market has sort of stabilized after hitting that 46, 47 area. Market stabilized. They've smacked the kind of front 2 weeks. And then we see September's actually gone higher. So you've seen September vol go from 95 to 100, and that whole curve just kind of shift up by 5 points, but the front end is actually the thing getting sold. So what's that saying? People are saying we've had enough of a move higher. We're probably going to consolidate for a week or two before the next move, but we clearly think we're in breakout territory where $10,000 to $20,000 moves are potentially very possible. And that's why people want to own that volatility like 1 month and more out, basically, right? And that's what people are piling into, right? Now, given the move up in vol, if you've been long, if you've been patiently waiting to call overwrite against your longs, not a bad time to start doing it, particularly in probably the August and September area where you'll actually earn your theta at a reasonable rate. I'm not in a rush to buy puts right now. I think I'm going to let the market kind of show me how well it is supported around that breakout zone in the kind of 40 to 42, 43 area. If that zone can hold a support, I'm not rushing to buy a load of put protection, given that puts are expensive, vol is expensive in this space. But, you know, starting to overwrite your longs might be a sensible idea, right? At least dipping your toes into that type of trade. Yeah. And then the last thing to talk about is skew, pretty stable. Skew over the week. You did see an acceleration towards calls, especially in the short end earlier in the week as we were breaking out, but then you've had that drift back down. So you've got super short dated 1 week stuff skew at 0. So symmetrical, nothing between calls and puts. You've got around 4 or 5 vols in the 1 month space, 7 to 8 in the 3 month space, and then the 6 to 12 month area is like 10, 11 vols over for calls. So strong call skew. We've been seeing a shift towards call skew. That was the market getting excited about the upside potential. They were right. We've had the upside breakout, but now we're not seeing calls exploding any higher. We're seeing that skew remain quite stable in the face of a rallying market, right? And we would need to see realized vol really, really accelerating to the upside to see that call skew go more bid, basically, right? And to see the kind of levels that we saw back in January, like where skew for the calls was priced at 30, 40 vols over in the front end. The only way you're going to see that is if we get crazy accelerations where we're seeing 10+% moves in a day and we're getting really extreme realized vol to the upside, then you'll start to see skew explode to those sort of levels, right? Right now, what's kind of happening is skew has priced that we should be going higher. We are going higher and we're going at a pace that the market is comfortable with because of where vol is priced, basically, right? Vol is kind of priced now at, 100 vol, which in crypto land is 5% a day, basically, right? So, and we're kind of getting those sort of moves, but it was slightly less than those moves. So there's no reason to panic on the vol front, basically. That's what's going on. Okay, So that's what's happening there. Nothing majorly different in Ethereum, right? Ethereum's holding its 15 to 20 volt bid over Bitcoin. So they kind of look the same in terms of the way they're behaving, the way the vol surface looks. I mean, I'll show it anyway. We popped our head above 32 on Ethereum just now, which is nice. Like I say, I do think Ethereum's got legs to 4,000 potentially. So there's a reason why that vol premium is there. If you look here, here's the term structure. You've got this kind of hump in December at 120, but then the front end's at 115. So it's a pretty flat curve. And a week ago, where was it? A week ago, it was, a reasonable amount lower. So it's popped by the whole thing's popped by about 20 vol points, right? It's shifted higher, similar to Bitcoin. That hump that we're seeing in December is probably to do with 2.0. I don't think we've got a firm date on when that's going to get released or anything like that. But because Ethereum is constantly evolving, constantly changing, and they have these potential catalysts on the horizon, I think that's what's triggering that kind of hump in December, basically. And then, lastly, we're pretty far away from expiry, right? So, the Max Payne stuff doesn't really come into play. If you look, Max Payne miles out, right? I mean, Ethereum is down at 2,500. So we're just too far away for it to matter. And in Bitcoin, it's down at 38. Again, we're miles above that, right? So, if we did go back down towards that support level, we got a correction, we might then get stuck there into expiry. But I don't think really it's playing a major factor right now. So we could easily keep accelerating away from those levels and go well into the 50s quite easily by expiry, right? Last chart I'll bring up is this kind of gamma concentration chart to see where the gamma lies in crypto. You can see, and like I say, I don't think that, again, I wouldn't read too much into this, but you're getting your predominant amount of gamma parked between 44 and 50,000. That's where the concentration is right now in Bitcoin. So, bouncing around between that area is probably the most likely outcome right now. Yeah. If we do start to see a load more open interest shift up to higher strikes above 50,000, then that may well signal that the breakout is coming, basically. But for now, looking at that gamma landscape and thinking, oh, I need to sell some calls to overwrite, that kind of confirms that you're probably fairly safe overwriting something above the 50,000 strike in the short end, basically, because that does seem to be where it lies. And like I say, in general, when vol's at 100, this sort of gamma effect is less, because the amount of gamma you actually have in an option on 100 vol is a lot less than what you have on an option on a 20 vol, let's say, like S&P. So I don't know how much impact the gamma pinning effect is going to have in an asset like Bitcoin, but it's something to keep an eye on, right? And if we do see that it actually is impacting, then that means that there's some information embedded there, basically, right? So something to be aware of. Yeah. Okay. For me, that's pretty much it. That is my summary for crypto vol, and what's going on. Any questions? Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this content, please subscribe to our channel, give the video a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I'd also encourage you to sign up for a free trial to our live and interactive Macro Insight Zoom call. As part of our trading community, as well as the call, you'll also get access to our Telegram chat and our weekly market reports. To find out more, you can also connect with us on the socials. All the links are at our website, www.options-insight.com. Thanks.